allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. The first thing on our agenda this morning is a consent agenda, which is fairly lengthy again. Approved minutes from August 15th. Approved payroll, approved vouchers, approve and sign renewed lease with Northwest Healthcare. Approved 4-day rental at the Park County Fairgrounds for Shoshone Rock Club. Approved request for Cody Partners to serve wine at a fundraising dinner. Approved malt beverage permit for Field of Dreams. Approve and allow chair to sign the Park County Search and Rescue Retirement System forms. Approve and allow chair to sign assessment roll for Deaver Irrigation District. And approve and allow chair to sign WellPath contract for jail medical. It's the pleasure of the board.
Madam Chair, I move to approve items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the items as listed on the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Kim should be, well, Jenny's coming in there. Kim? Hey. It is a public hearing, so we got a couple minutes. Okay, being 9:35, we have a public hearing. We have Kim Delavan and Jenny with the planning and zoning public hearing on Southport Cavity SUP 251.
All right.
Mr. Delavan.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the applicant for this project is Leslie Rose. The property is in the GR5 zoning district. Planning area is Lower South Fork. We did receive an application from Ms. Rose in April of this year, including payment. Also, she sent us an application letter, a building photo, liability documents, an aerial map, and a site map, which was all attached. You had a chance to see that. I will note that site map shows the lot configuration that was originally proposed for the Rose minor subdivision. And originally 3 lots were proposed. However, only now 2 lots are proposed. And we mentioned that just in case you remember seeing, because it's currently being processed, that Rose minor subdivision. So the applicant requests approval of the special use permit The use will entail the rental of an indoor riding arena by a small group of equine owners and riders. The applicant will also provide boarding facilities for no more than 4 horses. Ms. Rose plans to offer the arena at no charge to a local equine therapy consultant or consultants on an as-needed basis. The arena is an existing structure. It's 10,000 square feet. And the use will occur on approximately 2 acres of property. So we have this classified as major recreation facility, which is any commercial recreation facility over 5,000 square feet or over an acre. And of course, both these things are met here. This is commercial. It's just not for Ms. Rowe's personal use. So, Madam Chair, the location is shown in Figure 1. It's approximately 8 miles southwest of Cody, approximately a quarter mile south of Highway 291. It's directly west, the property and the structure, from County Road 6RT. Neighboring land use you can see in Figure 2. Neighboring land uses are primarily residential vacant and residential. However, we did add in here in the area, even though it's not classified as such, there are properties being used for agricultural purposes. So we know that. We've seen that. In terms of site characteristics, you can see in Figure 3, the topography, really little change in elevation. And I will mention that the applicant lives on the southwest portion of the property. She has a home there that's permitted and a permitted small wastewater system. As I mentioned, this is in GR5. So major recreation facility uses are allowed in GR5 provided a special use permit is required. Legal notices, those were met. Notices were put into Cody Enterprise once on August 15th, once on August 29th. The letters out to neighboring property owners were sent on August 9th. Below that legal notice paragraph, we have a paragraph explaining that originally this was scheduled to be heard by the board on August 15th. We sent to the Cody Enterprise an email asking for the publications to go in. For some reason, those were not put in. So we had to reschedule, hence why we're here today. Agency referrals, those were met. We notified DEQ. They emailed us a response summarizing any notifications, permits, or certifications that may be required. Park County Treasurer stated that property taxes are paid in full. We did get a response from the Wyoming Department of Fire Prevention and Electrical Safety. Because of the essence of the use, this will be, public will be going to this, and the structure is greater than 5,000 square feet. That fire prevention and safety group, they need to review this. To our knowledge, they have not reviewed it yet. Weed and Pest responded. Mary said additional weed plan is not necessary because Ms. Rose already has one. Mary did recommend that the applicant use for this use weed-free forage or forage produced on site. Our understanding is just for this use, for people coming on the property for the event or the horses that are going to be staying. Public Works responded. They commented sufficient gravel surfaces should be established. Public Works confirmed accesses from 6RT. Public Works recommends that traffic does not stack on the county road, and they said a drainage plan will not be required. Game and Fish has responded with no wildlife comments. Lakeview Irrigation District, they responded. They said this use should not impact their use at all. Madam Chair, we've received several public comments. The Garcias were in favor. Ms. Simpson was in favor of this use. Tim Dodd originally responded with several nuisance or safety concerns. Ms. Williams wrote in support of the use. Karen Bates wrote that she is pleased that this use will not involve any shows, clinics, or competitions. I forgot to mention that earlier. Ms. Rose does not want this use to involve any shows, clinics, or competitions. Mr. Wiley submitted a letter you had a chance to read. And then finally, Tim Dowd again submitted a letter with some concerns and potential solutions. Park County Planning and Zoning reviewed this on July 19th. They recommended approval. They had a number of conditions. Couple of those I'll just mention. Number 4 was a response from Lakeview Irrigation District. That condition has been met. Number 10 was they asked the applicant to provide an updated site plan. That condition has not been met. Madam Chair, my memory is primarily the P&Z were concerned with the applicant not showing parking areas. However, our conclusion, as I'll mention in a minute, our conclusion is that this facility seems to have adequate parking, given the small number of clients that she'll entertain, especially on the north side of the building, which you had a chance to see in the photographs. Compatibility and impacts. The applicant will rent the arena, wanting to ride basically and exercise their horses. The individuals who rent it will be provided a 2-hour time allotment, and Ms. Rhodes will not have more than 2 riders at any one time. She's planning. The therapy sessions will likely occur twice per year if they do occur, with approximately 10 participants. Again, the applicant will not host any shows, competitions, or clinics. Septic will be provided by a chemical toilet. Water for the horses if necessary, if people don't bring their own. She does have a hydrant that's served by Northwest Rural Water. That is a hydrant outside of the arena. There's not any water in the arena. Clients will be expected to bring their own bottled water for their use, and the structure does have outdoor lighting. The structure is not within 20 feet of that county road. No covenants are proposed or existing. The property has no known nonconformities. No nuisances have been reported other than some concerns from Mr. Dowd. You had a chance to read his material. And we feel like a soils report is not necessary. Access, I mentioned, is from 6RT. I did mention parking. So again, as you know, our regs talk about specific parking requirements, non-residential uses, which technically this is, says that there should be a parking space for each 400 square feet of floor area. That would mean 25 parking spaces. However, we feel that's way more than necessary. Again, because of the limited number of use. And when the equine therapy participants use this facility, our understanding is they will arrive in a bus or a van. So not a lot of cars, even for the therapy participants. So our conclusion is parking appears to be adequate. The only utility to the arena is electricity. No signs are proposed, and we feel solid waste disposal services are adequate. Madam Chair, the size of this use does require site plan review, so we did do that. Of course, there's a lot of repeat between the SUP and site plan. I will mention that there's no public or central water system that's proposed or required. We know of no hazardous substances stored, handled, or disposed of on the site or in the building. I will mention again, fire protection. Park County Fire District 2 has not provided any comments. However, though, the Wyoming Department of Prevention and Safety, again, because of the nature of the use, they're saying that they're requiring to review this proposal. This use will not, we believe this use will not impact any lakes, reservoirs, or streams. It will not impact any federal wetlands. This use should not impact any air quality. This development is not in any overlay district. Special site plan standards. Because this is in the lower South Fork planning area, site plan review is required. And those 4 parts are close to stream corridors, have a structure use on steep slopes, have a use that will disturb more than 2 acres of crucial big game habitat, or have a use that's close to a designated scenic byway. Our understanding is those 4 things do not apply. We have findings, Madam Chair. We recommend, or we said, should the county commissioners approve this use, we recommend the following conditions. One is Park County noise, lighting, and other nuisance regulations shall apply. The use shall not involve any equine shows, clinics, or competitions. The applicant shall submit evidence of approval to commence the use from the Wyoming Department of Fire Prevention and Electrical Safety prior to commencing the use. The applicant shall use weed feed forage or use forage grown on site. Madam Chair, we didn't word that maybe very appropriately. Our understanding is that condition would just be for the use, not for Ms. Rose feeding her own horses, things like that, private use. One chemical, and you may want to adjust that obviously. One chemical toilet is allowed to serve the use and must be anchored to resist the effects of wind, and the tank must be emptied on a regular basis. Condition number 6, the applicant shall ensure that traffic does not stack on the roadway. Number 7, there shall be no parking in the County Road 6 RT right of way at any time. Number 8, the applicant shall maintain all site drainage in a way that will not have an impact on adjoining parcels or the county roadway. And number 9, the applicant shall otherwise comply with standards in the Park County Development Standards and Regulations. We're happy to answer questions should you have any.
Madam Chair, do we have anything in the regulations with the definition of a clinic?
Not to, I don't know. Not that I remember seeing anything.
So it could be a couple people, or it could be 20 of them.
Right.
Could be any number.
A teaching situation.
A teaching therapy is not a teaching. There's a
No,
difference.
the therapy is on the horse. Basically, it's not a person. So yeah, you would have a therapist there working on the horse. Any other questions at this time? Yes.
Yeah, I'm concerned we don't need condition number 4. I'm not sure why we need to even bother ourselves. That's a requirement already. I can't bring, you're not supposed to move non-certified forage through the county. You are already allowed to use that forage that's grown on your property, on your own property. So I don't believe that needs to be a condition. I mean, no pun intended, but we're kind of getting out in the weeds there with that.
Nice.
Why do we don't need to keep adding stuff we don't have any business dealing with.
This is a public hearing. So is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this application? Anyone from the public?
Yeah. No.
Did you want to say anything or?
The whole basis for my opening this up.
I just need you to state your name for the record officially, please.
Leslie Rose. I just wanted to mention that when I attended a meeting by a group of citizens that wanted a Park County Arena built, and there's a need for it, but it's so many things going on. And I thought, well, I'm fortunate to have this, so I could open it up to people, and it's really a need for the county that people ride and have the opportunity to work all winter to be able to compete and hit the rodeo July 4th, and there is a schedule, it's online, and it will work great.
I guess I did have one question when it came to the fact that you, in the application thing, or what Mr. Dillon read, had to do with 4 horses being boarded, up to 4 horses that could be boarded. You also say 2 people or 2 in the arena at the time. I'm just kind of curious about if the owners of the 4 horses have to schedule time in the arena too, or do they have open? I mean, I'm just kind of mixing the 2. So
they have open time.
Okay.
The arena is part of their board.
Okay, so the 2 would be outside horses coming in.
But when they use it, they also have to schedule it.
Okay.
And it's on the calendar. So if somebody went in to schedule 2 hours, it would bounce back if those hours weren't there.
Okay, all right, that
And
answers that.
then we address another time.
Okay, appreciate that.
Leslie, is there anything you can do to address, and I see what they're talking about, is you pull up to go through the gates and especially if you bring in a bigger trailer, you could be clear across almost 2 lanes. Is there anything you can do to address that? I can see it kind of being a pain or a safety issue.
We talked about that, and we talked about leaving the gates open, but then the other problem is they're dealing with horses.
Yeah, you don't want
to leave the gates open, if one gets away, it isn't closed, they can't go anywhere, it's run around the arena, which they might like to do. The outside of the arena, not
Yeah.
the inside. We asked people to pull up off the side of the road, open the gates, for my daughter lives on one. She lives closer to the gates. I live at the other end. I've been down there because I work at 24/7 and open the gates for people.
So it's something you're paying attention to.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. We've asked them, as that one picture, someone had go up to the fence. That was just a thought on their part that it's we've let it just be acceptable.
Good.
And the amount of traffic on the road, it really doesn't interfere with too much.
No.
But it might, so we've asked them to go to the side, and they have.
I'll ask one more time for any public comment. Hearing
Move to
none,
close the public hearing, Madam Chair.
Second.
we moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the South Fork Cabby special use permit 251 with staff recommendations minus recommendation number 4. The applicant should use weekly forage or use forage grown on site as redundant.
Second.
I moved and seconded to approve the application as stated. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. SUP 251 is approved. Thank you.
Resolution 2023-51.
Nice.
Thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You bet.
Thank you. There's yours, Brody.
It's all mine, huh?
It's all yours.
So, if you wouldn't mind, taking one passing it down. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having me here today. I'm Brody Sears with the Meeteetse Recreation District. First off, I do want to apologize with the paper. I was really hoping over the weekend some of these figures on this sheet were going to change after our pre-bid meeting on Friday, and they didn't.
Oh.
So bear with me with the 2 pieces of paper. I tried to keep it as clean as I possibly can. I know we don't all like paper. So again, thank you guys very much for contributing to the Meeteetse Community Center back in March. It's kind of unfortunate that I'm here again proposing some additional funds for this project in light of how the progression of this project has been moving. So when I originally approached you guys, our project was budgeted at about $1.3 million. Since then, since we have received funds, we put this project to send kind of the feelers out, got Grow House involved, started getting an actual project budget put together. And our $1.3 million project turned into 1.9, almost just shy of 2 million, which was kind of a shock. So we had to go back to the drawing board. The scope of the project is still the same. However, the size of the building has been reduced. We had to cut almost 2,000 square feet off of it and reduce the ceiling height. We thought getting the project budget within 1.5. So our board approved our project budget at $1.5 million. And that's kind of where we had been shooting, which it's kind of unfortunate because as you can see here on this front page, our total to date is $1,295,540. So we were so close to making our original 1.3 goal work. But unfortunately, we are still trying like crazy to get this project even to 1.5. So when we did our middle pre-building bid, it came in even higher than what we were expecting. When we gathered a lot of the quotes and just kind of some ideas to base the 1.5 million off of, you know, what everything was kind of going, the going rates, we bid a lot of the local, or not bid a lot of it, but got a lot of I guess, help with a lot of the local contractors and things like that. And now that we're actually to the point of moving forward, a lot of the local people are extremely overwhelmed with work and cannot get this project done within the timeline that we have. Therefore, we are having to pull people from all over the state and even outside of the state, which unfortunately drives the cost up because Meeteetse doesn't have a whole lot to offer when it comes to housing employees and, you know, work crews and things like that. So, as on the second sheet here, this again is provided by Grote House Construction. You can see we're shooting, we were close to that 1.7, almost $1.8 million estimate with the metal building. Grote House has made a significant in-kind donation, which will total just shy of 140,000. That gets us a little bit closer. There are some things that we've tried to cut, you know, or maybe even move further down into the process later on, if, you know, all the way down to not maybe as fancy toilet paper dispensers, you know. So we've got it kind of figured out to where if we've got some money in the end, you know, we'll get a fancier hand soap deal, you know, or something like that. So there are some things on here that we could eliminate. However, Grote House does not suggest eliminating them. Some like entry canopies. We talked about doing that and doing that later, but it's the entry to the building is a north facing slope with an ADA ramp up the front, and not having it covered poses a safety hazard, you know. So there's some things, you know, that we could do, but really in the long run, do we really want to do that? So right now, with all those suggestions, our project budget is essentially 1.6 million. So the Meeteetse Recreation District does have some reserve funds, which every single dime that we have just shy of $750,000. We talked about, well, we'll just put it all up front, you know, and move forward. But then the more we got to thinking about that, we're going to have a brand new building, and to utilize every single penny that we have would be very silly. We don't want to set ourselves up for failure. We want to operate all of our programs. So we're only going to try to put 200,000 towards that. So with that being said, we're still shy $304,460. We do have some pending funds. And I actually, like I say, over the weekend, I was hoping that some of these numbers were changed, our donation wise. I did have some conversations with some people that have already donated to the project and said that they are still willing to help. So I am very confident that we're still going to get the funds that we need. I know that like Lewis Construction, I know that they're planning on bidding the dirt work part of it, and they have even talked about donating a significant amount to the project for in-kind donations. So a lot of those numbers could change. We still, however, don't anticipate it being enough, you know, to break even on this deal. So I'm not sure, you know, what kind of was a good asking price for you guys. If you guys were even interested, I guess, in supporting the project again. I did just a little bit of math. I've got down here on our pending funds of 150,000 from you guys, which you guys already contributed 168,000. And so if pending the 150,000, it would put you guys supporting this project at 19%. In the total grand scheme of things, if we're still working on that 1.6. And again, we really appreciate the support already. We're just scraping and clawing to try to come up with any kind of dime that we've got. And obviously you guys were my first stop to hit round 2. I do anticipate hitting all the people that have already donated back up again. The Park County Parks and Rec has been extremely generous as well. And to this point in this project, have already, pledged 75,000. So I guess, does anybody have any questions?
Madam Chair, of course, you're not doing away with all safety equipment.
No.
That's part of the open.
Correct. Yep. Yes. Yep. It'll still be up to code and everything. It's just kind of where we can make adjustments.
For the Walmart pending funds, $5,000.
Yes.
Is that a match of some kind?
No, that's just a straight out community facilities grant that unfortunately has to go all the way through corporate before it comes all the way back down to the local branch. They've been extremely generous to us before, and so fingers crossed, I'm feeling relatively confident with that one. But we could use the Walmart one for another, obviously, match grant, but it did not require any match funding for that.
Do you have some match grants that are possible?
As of right now, we do not, but it's kind of getting into the new grant cycle again. So what kind of comes through in September usually, we'll have some, I'm hoping. We do anticipate on applying for the USDA, oh my gosh, what's that called? Community or rural community. Oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank of what it is.
Might be development block.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, yep. And but unfortunately, they have told me that they will not probably fund capital projects, but they would be interested in entertaining like equipment. Mm-hmm. So I do plan on when we get that far into the project to apply for that grant to see if we can up some of our equipment, especially like the therapy with Gotchi has just completely blown up over there, and we're needing some more therapy type equipment. So I think that now that we'll have some more space to get more equipment, we can. And that is another thing too. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at the plans. It was a huge file, but the building is still designed. When I said that we had to reduce the 2,000 square foot, it is still designed to be able to build that back on as soon as we get the funds. So, I mean, this project is still going to be a work in progress, as time goes on. And we really hope that we'll be able to someday put it to the full scope, of everything that we dreamed of having. So it is designed for future expansion, which hopefully won't be too much further down the line.
Brody, there's some deadlines coming up too.
Yes.
And the state requiring one of those, correct?
Yes. Yep. Our temporary fitness center that we're in right now, we have to be out by spring. So project completion is supposed to be April for this project. So we should hit it just about right. I know right now our metal building is already ordered. It's kind of a push. We had our pre-bid meeting, so everything's out to bids, concrete, the whole rest of the project. So I know that we're going to probably be fighting the weather a little bit coming up here, but it was a really good pre-bid meeting, and there was a lot of interest from contractors, which is good, which I was a little bit nervous about if we would even have the contractors, to do the project. But yes, we are getting down to a little bit of a timeline crunch.
Any other questions for Brody?
No, Madam Chair, I'm definitely in favor of seeing this project move forward. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can basically make sure the funds will be there, but not having you give up on finding other funds somewhere else, so that it can move forward.
You could do a commit up to.
Yeah.
Under necessary requirements, but do a commit up to on the ARP funds.
Yeah.
They do have to be spent by 26 in this particular one, the 5.6.
We've supported, obviously, community centers and other municipalities. So,
yeah.
But that's where I'm at.
The only thing it would do, if we chose to do it out of the original ARP track funding, that would change a little bit on the HVAC, which can move into those two general fund ARP monies. So we can go either way, but it sounds like this project would be done on time. So that would be a clear completion for us on using these funds by the deadline that we have to use them by, if whatever we commit. We've already committed what,
150.
150.
I think it was 168,400.
Yep. Yeah, so you had asked for 300 and we did 168.
So were you looking at a particular number?
Well, that's where I'm struggling. I mean, that's a big chunk if they're 300,000 short right now. And it'd be great if, well, at the end of the day, if they get in-kind donations on dirt work, pick up more donations here, that number could go down, but in order for the project to move forward, they need to know that they are in essence fully funded.
Mhm.
And so we would be betting on the come. We're committing 304,000 if we went that direction, and we could very well spend it if nothing else happened.
Right, and I think too, if the news came out that we're backfilling all this, that might stop all the fundraising, and maybe
Yeah,
they wouldn't get the contribution.
that's
Mhm.
Madam Chair. What's our deadline looking like?
There's really no deadline on it. We're gonna keep working on, like I say, we're gonna do the big things first. So we've got the funds essentially to get the skeleton of the building up, most of the stuff. But when it comes to, safety pads along the inside wall, flooring, we do have a little bit of rubber flooring left. Toilet paper dispensers, that type of stuff. We've got a contingency built into it, but the way that everything just right off the get-go, the way that it was looking already, that contingency didn't look like there was going to be a whole lot of it left. Moving, and who knows? I mean, there's so many things that can happen. But really, deadline, there really isn't one.
Except for the fact that you have to be out of where you are.
Correct. Yep. Correct. And so we've just kind of gone through the project and prioritized, if we've got money, this is the first thing we'll do. This is the second thing the way that I look at this, when we get into the building, if we still have some money, like it's always going to be, like I say, even with the expansion, things like that, I don't think that we're ever going to be ahead. Yes, we might meet the actual budget of this project, but there's still so much that we cut out to make this just even get within our 1.5 budget, that there's still going to be extras.
Sure. I've already just a question, the pending funds.
Yes.
What is that?
So-
I missed that.
Yeah, so the pending funds I've got right here on the top right. So Lennox and Fran Baker have pledged another $25,000 towards the project, which they're just waiting kind of on their foundation to recycle through. Walmart obviously is a pending grant. The other ones that are on here, I've reached out to, but I have not heard back yet. And then obviously you guys are on there too, which would total the pending that I've just put in there 180,000. So if the 180,000 did come through, we would still be $124,460 short. To meet the 1.6 million, I guess.
So even if we, at this time, were to commit the additional 150 that we talked about, or that you've got on here, you're still 100 short from making where you need to. So you'll still be pushing donations that way.
Yes, we would still be $124,460 short.
Like head in that direction,
Okay.
and then you can come back to us again.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you don't have to.
Don't tempt me. I appreciate you guys though, even entertaining the idea. And I know that it's going to be a huge benefit for Matitsi. And I do invite you guys, we're going to have a groundbreaking on the 25th of September. I think the last Wednesday of the month, we're going to do a big barbecue. So I do extend the invitation, probably 5:30 on that. So, and I'll send out a formal invitation and everything. So
Yeah, that's Waco week for
Oh.
elected officials, but if somebody chooses not to get there or they're on their way back for some reason, yeah,
Okay,
let us know.
perfect.
We're down there on the 26th.
25 is the leadership training, the
Jesus.
financial, sorry, yeah. It got extended by a day.
26th is the financial meeting, 8 to 8:05.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is September 27th. Yeah.
25th, yeah, you probably go down that
Go
night.
down
'cause
that
it
day.
Starts at 8 o'clock that morning.
And yours is what, the 20th?
The 27th. Now that I'm sorry. Now that I look at the calendar over there. Yep, the last Wednesday.
Waco, big barbecue and Matisse, that's an easy decision for me.
Yeah, there's no open container law.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we pledge another 150,000 from the ARPA funds. If you want to get specific about it, you can.
Okay.
Towards the Matisse Community Center.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to pledge an additional $150,000 out of our ARPA funding for additional funds for the Matisse Community Center. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay,
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Definitely.
okay.
That doesn't mean stop fundraising.
Oh, I won't. I've
No,
got
she's
a
still
whole
got a
list.
ways to
I've got
go.
sticky notes almost everywhere. Names driving down the road. Ooh, I could ask them. Ooh, I could ask them.
But again, people trying to avoid you now? So,
You know, it's almost to the point to where they know that I'm going to address them, so they just walk in the opposite direction. Like, well, I know that's probably what you're gonna ask me, but hi anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Oh, we got a few minutes for Brian Edwards.
No, we don't. There he
Oh, we
is.
don't. Okay,
Oh, no.
So what's remaining here? What bid is? Oh,
That was the there's the. It's a company out of Casper. But it's neat to have a little something lost.
Hi, Carrie, this is going upstairs. Did we get any more bids on the concrete? Okay, yeah, because we are expecting one from FedEx, I think. The FedEx distribution comes till after 11.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about how the holiday kind of messed us up.
It did, yeah. That's what I thought. When do they usually come? You know? Oh, not until about 2 o'clock.
Well,
Okay, thanks. Bye. Yeah, usually later in the day she's there.
okay. I had conversations with both of the two that I thought we were gonna get bids from. And I know they were either gonna bring it up and like have it for the meeting. Or they knew that FedEx or mail, they would, you know, they had to give it by Friday, so I don't know. Usually you get it in by the time, if there's a holiday, you gotta get it a day earlier, you know, but.
did you, and you stated the 10:20 time on your,
I think at the time we advertised this, we didn't know the time, so,
Okay.
but they were due yesterday at 5 o'clock.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
See, we weren't open all day yesterday.
right,
That's the hard part.
right,
Even if they drove here, they couldn't get it to us.
Yeah, and I think what I thought, cause Colleen was caught it and I didn't, so what I thought if they were here, you know, like, it's like they show up and here they have it.
Yeah.
And we had more, it came and we had it in hand, but we don't, so.
I'm good with it.
I don't know if they.
Okay.
okay. Next thing on our agenda, Brian Edwards, Public Works and Promise Ball, landfill. And the first thing on there is to open bids on the concrete crushing and recycling.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As you know, over the last several years, we've accumulated quite a bit of concrete rubble from demolition projects.
we've got pretty good piles out at Cody landfill and the Powell landfill. And so we've been talking with contractors and advertised for them to come in and crush it. So we received one bid.
Excuse me.
And we did send to anybody that advertises for crushing within Wyoming and all the surrounding states. Somebody reached out to them plus advertised. And like I say, I had 2 people that I was talking to. It appears that we just received one bid. This is from Little Rock Incorporated. Lynn Lamb, if you know Lynn, out of Batitsi.
Excuse me.
And the way we put this together was either a cost per ton, or they could take a percentage of the pile. You know, in other words, they take so much percentage of it on the completed amount, which was another way we would consider it. So for all the cost per ton to process and crush concrete, jaw run estimate 4-inch minus $11.75 per ton. And then he's got an option B where he would process, crush, and screen for a 1 3/4 minus and a 1 3/4 to 4-inch minus to produce 2 products at $13.32 per ton. That's not something we asked for. We were thinking more of the, the 4-inch minus side of things. If using the screen, other sizes are available. So it looks like we'd be in the $11.75 to $13.32. Oh, Little Rock would like to have the option to purchase 5,000 or more tons from the Cody pile at $7 per ton, which would be deducted from the cost of crushing. Some things to think about there. They submitted their certificate of liability insurance, workers' compensation, statement of good standing. That's about it. So, honestly, we probably should put some numbers together to say which way we want to go there. The problem is right now we'd just be estimating what we have for tonnages. We've got a pretty good idea survey wise in yards, but as y'all know, concrete's big different pieces, and it'd be hard to say what we could be close probably. But I guess we would recommend awarding to Little Rock Incorporated. And I don't know which one's the better way to go. What are you thinking, Travis? Probably just crush the 4-inch minus, and then
Commissioner Livingston.
Do you feel you have a use for all of this material?
I do. I think we would use it for landfill stuff. We're getting up out of the ground now, so but using it for road materials is pretty good, especially that 4-inch minus size for bigger trucks and whatnot, bridging over soft material. We definitely use it.
So a couple of things. One, then that would preclude us selling any back to him. And then when they do this, they screen out all the steel. Where does the steel go? Do we retain the steel?
Travis and I were just talking about that. That was our understanding, is they would either take it to sell, where we would retain that amount, or it gets subtracted off the contract, or just haul it over to the metal pile. And I think that's the way we wrote it. I didn't look beforehand, but I think they just separate the steel, put it in the metal pile, and then they just focus on crushing concrete. But either way, we would get a credit, or we just get the metal.
Question?
I'm thinking of approving the bid. However, I maybe let these guys scratch their head a little bit more as to the options. Just looking at it, I mean, you're still going to end up with 5,000 ton at the Cody landfill. That'll go a long ways of the 4-inch minus, and I mean, that's up to you guys. Look at what your needs are. You know more than we do. If you can sell some of it back, okay. Because according to here, you're estimating 6,000 ton, which is about 10,000 or 6,000 yards, you're estimated. And that's about 10,000 tons, so he'd be taking half of it, whether or not you, that would be enough to fill your needs, but either way, the contract. Seems reasonable at $11.75, unless you feel there's a need, and that's good on the options of crushing the 1.5 inches. If we don't have a need for it, then I damn sure don't think we need to pay for it.
Yeah, we probably need to scratch our heads a little bit, talking over with Edmund and the guys at the landfill, but I know that 11.75. It is not a bad price this day and age for us to get crushed gravel. It's kind of in that range nowadays. So yeah, I guess if there's a way you could we can come back to you, I guess, through through emails, and maybe give us some flexibility to figure that out, or however you can do that.
Madam Chair, is there a way that we can make a motion to approve or award the contract to Little Rock, leaving the options available, decision to landfill?
And I can follow up with y'all, you guys. It's just we wouldn't meet again till the third Tuesday. So if there's a way we could do it, I can tell you what this pencils out and what the guys want to do. If there's
not really going to know until it's weighed anyway as to the actual amount.
I think we can approve it and give them the authorization to make the decision on how much they need to keep and what can be sold.
Keep in mind, you'd still sign the contract,
Once it's
pending
done.
county attorney's approval.
So moved.
I hate it when you.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the contract for the crushing of the reclaimed or the excess concrete at our landfills to Little Rock. Based on their proposal and leaving the options at the discretion of the landfill.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so the next thing on our list is consider amendment to CMAR contract for a courthouse project. Consider guaranteed maximum price.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As you know, we've been talking for last year or so. The HVAC project's in full swing. We have an agreement the county has entered into with Roadhouse Construction as construction manager at risk for the courthouse edition HVAC upgrades. Over the past few months, they've been working and to solicit, I don't know if that's a good word, but to get bids and estimates from subcontractors and suppliers for so that we can come up with a guaranteed maximum price. They have done that, and they actually had a bid opening, which Commissioner Overfield and myself sat in on last Thursday, and the prices actually came in a little lower than we were expecting. But anyway, so for today, what this is an amendment to the agreement with the construction manager at risk for the guaranteed maximum price. And the price, which includes their fee and all the subcontractors' cost, which again were bid out, subcontractors and suppliers. That price is $4,980,602.00. That's $4,980,602.00. And that includes everything from the electrical, the HVAC side of it. I'd like to have that somewhere here. Yeah, so general stuff, the acoustical ceilings, mechanical controls, electrical. Out of everything, when they were opening bids, Commissioner Overfield can attest to this. We had pretty close agreement on all the bid items. Some of the bigger ticket items, like the mechanical, was within, very close. The only one that was quite a bit different was the electrical. And I think there was an outfit out of Hot Springs, and it was almost double or something. It was a little bit oddball, but everything else, the one that did give us the price on the electrical had actually gone through the project, asked a lot of questions, and Roadhouse felt confident that that it was a solid bid, that they knew what they were getting into. So this amount, although it's shocking amount. It is less than what our early estimates were coming in at. Actually, it's probably about where we were early estimates, but we were thinking that we'd be somewhere in that 6.5 to 6.9 million. So we are under a little bit on that, but anyway.
This doesn't include the controllers though that we're buying separately and some things Long's doing ahead of time.
That is correct. We did purchase outside the contract in the interest of time.
Right.
Some of the fans.
So the price is a little bit higher
That's
than
true.
this, but
That's
it's okay.
That's true. There are some things that we bought outside the contract, correct? But
Okay.
then as far as warranties and whatnot, it gets swallowed into the contractor ends up taking ownership of it.
Okay.
Under warranty, so that's taken care of.
So we need approval for signature on that addendum number 1 to the agreement.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Before you vote, I'll also add that the guaranteed maximum price includes a contingency in the amount of $600,014. So got a little cushion in there, things that unforeseen that very likely will come up. So.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the addendum for CMAR contract for the HVAC amount of $4,980,602. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay.
Madam Chair, while we have you,
Uh-oh.
yeah, so this is my fault. And I mentioned it, I sent you an email and I think I failed to get it on the agenda, but so on the building automation system contract, which is separate with Long Building Technologies, they're nearing completion of their work. There were some items in their construction that are better done as part of the CMAR contract, which is on the controls so we're not duplicating things or spending money twice or have to take things out. So bottom line is Jack recommended that they issue a change order for a credit in the amount of $69,097.50. I didn't know if Madam Chair could just sign that or if that needed separate approval with it being a credit. Bottom line is taking money out of this project and it's included in that CMA. But it's a credit to the contract that we've got with Longs on the building automation of $69,097.50. I didn't know if you could prove that without not being on the agenda. Molly scolded me about it severely.
We're gonna have to do some creative agenda planning when we're all in different
I know.
locations in the next 6 months.
Molly scolded me about that too.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do you?
I'm fine with approving it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve signature on the credit for building automation contract from Long Technologies. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
We'll get that done.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a little bit. Next thing on the agenda is Brian at 10:50.
We'll probably expect folks show up for that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We have one here. We have two here.
Set the mailboxes.
Travis.
Are you good with this, just putting on your stuff in the mailboxes?
Hey,
So-
I took Ellers to a on a Cowboys game one time.
This is the same, just-
When you go to the Huskers game, it's just a sea of red going through the town through the parking lot. You get to the Huskers game, it goes, now I know why they wear, now I know why the Cowboys colors are brown and gold. And I go, why? Because all these Cowboys can just wear their Carhartts and they're supporting the
You'll
team.
be able to do this without 2:00.
See?
Damn right.
Hey, Travis,
If we need.
you're not gonna need all that.
What is the,
concrete
what's
over
happening
it.
to a
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Questions? The next thing on our agenda is Brian Edwards, Park County Engineer, Public Works Department, regarding consider staff recommendation for award of professional engineering and land surveying services contract for the Willwood Road Rehabilitation Project. And I will state up front that I will recuse myself from this vote or decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, we received or sent out a request for statements of qualifications for the Willwood project. That would be a reconstruction of the road from the Powell Highway into southeast Powell to Highway 295. Could be a couple phases, but we were seeking professional engineering and surveying services to help us with that project. We've been talking about it for 3, 4, 5 years now, and finally trying to get it kicked off. So we're in that mode. We advertised for statements of qualifications for in the Cody and Powell papers, Billings, Casper. Trying to think somebody else here. Bozeman, I believe. We tried to get everybody that was within a reasonable proximity driving distance. We ended up getting 3 statements of qualifications, all from local firms. Ardura Engineering Associates and Morrison Merrily all have offices in Cody. And we took the statements of qualifications that were opened in front of you last meeting, I believe it was, or a while back. And we put together a selection committee, which included myself, Ben, our project manager, Commissioner Teal, our road bridge foreman, which is Delray Jones. And then we also brought in some outside independent, brought in Todd Frost, helped us out as independent guy, nothing to do with Wydot, just as a colleague. And then we had Mike Robinson, who's a pavement specialist guru. So we got together, we interviewed last Thursday, and got together. We had we scored everything independently. We interviewed all 3 firms, and I think we were all, I don't say blown away, but very impressed. All 3 firms were very strong. We've got fortunate to have some good engineering companies here in town to choose from. With that said, I think I'd say unanimous, but the decision was close as far as probably first and second. All 6 people on the committee ended up picking Engineering Associates as the top pick. But I want to kind of throw out that we tossed around the whole discussion of equity. Some of the bigger or some of the projects most recently, Engineering Associates has been awarded those contracts. I'm thinking like recently the TAP project, the bike pass, and a bridge project here and there. We tried to, and we've asked around to some of our colleagues. Equity sounds good. We go back and look at the state statute. We try to look at pure qualifications. They're all qualified. We took who the firm that we thought was the most qualified, it could have the best value and do the best job for us on this project. And so that's where we arrived at the decision on Engineering Associates. With that said, I think you as commissioners don't have to necessarily take our recommendation. These are all 3 local companies that provide a lot of great service to Park County. It's Park County dollars, county road fund dollars that we're using on the project. So it's a very tough choice for us. We've got friends and mentors in all 3 firms. It's very difficult to do. But I guess the fact that we did come to a unanimous decision, I think was worth mentioning.
Questions, concerns?
Just have observation. You advertise in Bozeman, Billings, Casper, and they only come back from Cody. Is it all a logistics situation? I know that there are companies in Billings and Bozeman who do those.
Now we did put some pre-qualifications on. We wanted, trying to remember how I worded this exactly. We wanted people that was as far as the project engineer, the lead professionals, to be within 180-mile driving distance, just because of the kind of hands-on that the project needed. We wanted to have the key members of the team close or in proximity, because it does require a lot of hands-on. So that was written into the bid documents. So what doesn't say that a company couldn't partner with a local firm or something like that. That's often what's done. But yeah, a project like this, and I'm going to say, well, even like EA, we've got representatives for both EA and Ardura here with us today, but Ardura, Morrison, Merrily, big, pretty good sized national companies. The bulk of their work would be done by people locally. So they have local folks. So that, they qualified in that way. And then Engineering Associates, the bulk of their horsepower is also here locally, but they have offices. I forgot what they said, 5 or 6 offices statewide now too. So yeah, we just tried to cast a big net. If they were within 80-mile driving distance, that's where we tried to pick up a.
So if I'm a Billings company, you're competing against the locals, you're sort of at a disadvantage to begin with, and you're out of state. So
yeah,
advertising up in Billings and Bozeman, just seems like a waste.
Well, I thought about that. It's just one of these situations, because we do have it in our procurement policy. That's the 5% thing. We buy some stuff. We try to buy local when we can, but we buy some things out of Billings direct and some professional services too, that if you can't get it locally for within that 5%, sometimes, it's a balance. You want to buy local, but you want to buy value locally. And I'll also say like our, sorry, but a good example is our HVAC system. That company's out of Casper that's doing the engineering for that. And I think the engineering firms here would tell you there's people here that do some of that. That's not something that they do every day. Whereas the companies we interviewed, in fact, they were all out of town, the ones that we interviewed for that job. So it just kind of depends on what it is. And this is a bigger job. It's a pretty decent civil project. I think it'll be nice for any firm that gets it.
Well, I think, Madam Chair, I think Brian's covered what I was going to respond to Commissioner Mangold. They were invited, and they could have put in requests or proposals, any from Bozeman. I mean, Bozeman might be a stretch as far as mileage, but Billings is definitely. But yeah, he's right that because of the size of the project, we need to reach out and make sure that we're shopping as a county for the best bang for our buck. The the or in-county 5% preference when it comes to the scoring evaluating, I mean, that could have been the difference. The 3 that we did locally, I mean, it was even across the board. Each one was 5 because they all had offices here. But I mean, that would have threw probably a Billings person out, possibly. I mean, unless they just excelled on everything else. But they probably learned that they're not competitive. I'm still looking at it, and I think it's right that we shop and advertise.
Yeah, and I agree with that. It just seems that we're just wasting money advertising up in Bozeman and Billings.
Well, in some instances possibly, but currently most of our oil products that we use, and we use a lot through a road and bridge, and landfill comes out of Billings. Maybe not so much the landfill, but A&I is out of Billings, and they can't get. And our local guys, I've had people bitch, and I tell them, and they've shopped, and they can't beat them up there, even with the out of state preference and the in-state. So I mean, we got to keep looking.
The point is we didn't get anything. We didn't get any responses.
Scott, one more thing real quick to pick up on that. If it had been I normally don't do that. It was really the size of the project, the complexity of the project. It justified to me a little bit of advertising expense to be sure we're getting the best pick here. Because I did get interest from others. I think when they looked at some of the pre-qualifications, they thought they didn't have enough horses here locally. But if it was a $50,000 project, or we normally advertise Cody and Powell and call it good, but I think for the amount of money we're talking here, we just want to be sure we get the right firm. Knowing that we've got some good ones locally, but want to be sure everybody has the opportunity.
Any other conversation with commissioners, questions? Thoughts? Decision?
I just want to add, as being on part of the committee, it was not an easy decision. There was splits, especially second and third. Everybody scored separately. And when it came down to it, everybody had, a slight lead over it's a recommendation. So with that, I do think the commissioners can sway, could pick any one of these and would still be good shape.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve EA.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve Engineering Associates for the Willwood Road Rehabilitation Project. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Madam Chair, if I could, so now, since you've awarded that, I think we can go ahead and open their price proposal if you'd like, if we got time.
Sure. Kim, just come out there. That's not a public hearing, so we're okay.
Okay, consultant fees. Date of this was August 14th. Task 1 project administration, 132,400. Task 2 mapping and surveying, 74,500. Task 3 field and laboratory geotechnical and pavement testing, which includes a 31,700 geotechnical consultant fee, 60,400 total. Design phase, which is task 4, 147,800. And then their construction quality assurance, they said because some things are still a little bit unknown, they said 9% of construction cost is what they put in there for task 5 construction quality assurance. Total not to exceed consultant fees is $415,100 plus 9% of construction costs, which is the task 5 for quality assurance. They included a rate sheet, standard rate sheet for reimbursable expenses and labor. That's that. But if you would like, we will come back with an agreement and the chair to sign and for you to sign.
Is that within the budget, I guess, that, or your thoughts on the budget at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a question though. So when they turn in that, and we get to this point, are those figures negotiable?
Yes.
So you'll work.
I say they're negotiable. The idea is that and we follow some others kind of do it this same way, but that it's supposed to be a purely qualifications based selection for this amount of money. But if we can't come to terms, if this was out of budget, if we can't make this work, if we don't like the 9% on the CQA or whatever, I think we can go back to them and negotiate, because these remain unopened. If we can't come to terms with something that you're all happy with and that the budget agrees with, then we would go to the second place.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean. We've always done that. I just curious whether.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Brian, did you want me to keep the other one?
Thank you.
You've been driving, Kim, you drive back and forth.
Yeah, this agenda thing's gonna get entertaining. Except we'll be up there at their building, so it won't be quite so bad. Okay, our 11 o'clock, Kim Delvin, Park County Planning and Zoning Assistant Director, Molnar Lawson, simple sub number 296 extension request.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So the applicants for this proposal, these two extension requests, Michael Molnar and Sharon Lawson. This property is in the Middle South Fork planning area. The zoning is GR 20. So we did get a letter from Mr. Schatz from EA in August of this year. And he requested a 12-month extension for submittal of this Molnar Lawson simple subdivision final plat and the related documents. In the letter, Mr. Schott explained that a water distribution plan from Lakeview Irrigation District has not been obtained. And Mr. Schatz also explained that the water distribution plan delay is basically a disagreement between the applicants and Lakeview. My understanding is in regard to sprinkler irrigation. So that's the delay on getting the final plat to us. So then in emails starting August 23rd with Joy, our planning director, she said that the variance is set to expire. There is a variance in addition to the sketch plan approval being subject to expire in its expiration in the near future. Joy explained that the variance expiration date could be extended up to 1 year according to our regs, and the sketch plan approval expiration that could be extended up to 6 months, again, according to our regulations. So in terms of the variance history, you'll probably remember that a variance was approved, and this that was approved on September 6th of last year. And that variance was a requirement that conventional subdivisions in GR 20 average 20 acres per housing unit. So the applicant, you'll probably remember, wanted to divide a parcel that is 39.96 acres in GR 20. So those should each be at least 20 acres in size. They weren't. Again, variance was approved by the county commissioners last year. Expiration of a variance, again, according to our regs, a variance shall expire and become void 1 year following the date of approval unless construction or development commences. And our regs say the board may extend authorization for up to a year for good cause. So this variance is set to expire September 6th this year, unless the board extends authorization for up to an additional year. So the applicant is asking for a full year extension. Sketch plan history. We received an application August of last year for the sketch plan. There were conditions in that. One was review and approval from Lakeview Irrigation District and an approved water distribution plan. Again, we've not received that yet. And then our regs say that approval of sketch plan shall lapse after 12 months unless the applicant submits an application for final plat. So we have not received that yet. And again, this sketch plan is set to expire September 21st of this year, unless the board extends authorization for up to an additional 6 months. And so the applicant is asking the board to consider that 6-month extension, Madam Chair. And we did show you, just for purposes, in case you were wondering, we did send you a copy of that sketch plan, so you had a chance to look at that again. Our recommendation is we do recommend approval of a 1-year extension of the expiration date of the variance approval. That would extend that expiration date to September 6th of 2024. We also recommend that you approve the 6-month extension of the expiration date of the sketch plan. That extension, if approved, would extend the expiration date of the sketch plan to March 21st of 2024. And then our conditions that we're recommending, should you approve both of these extensions, one is the approval extends the expiration date of variance approval to September 6, 2024. This approval extends the expiration date of sketch plan approval to March 21st, 2024. If the applicants do not submit a final plat application for the Molnar Lawson simple subdivision by March 21st of 2024, the sketch plan approval will expire, thus requiring the applicants to submit a sketch plan application again, should they wish to complete the subdivision process. And then should the applicant submit their final plat application timely, they can complete the subdivision permitting process by no later than September 6th of 2024, or the variance approval will expire, and then the subdivision will be rendered undoable. And then number 5 of our recommended conditions, the applicant shall otherwise comply with the standards in the Park County Development Standards and Regulations. Madam Chair, and our thought was, should you agree to approve one or both of these, our thought, 2 motions, but then we thought you could have this done in one resolution if you do both extensions.
Okay.
Our thought was that. And I'm happy to answer questions should you have any.
Any questions?
I have a question. Originally back, on the first application, it was requested that Cody Canal Irrigation District sign off. Well,
They're under Lakeview.
I understand this right here. It says
Oh,
Cody.
I
That's
thought
what
it said that.
I understand the
Okay.
holdup is with Lakeview, but I'm just, originally, one of the conditions was Cody Canal Irrigation Districts is number 21 of the, whereas.
Yeah,
Was that in
I'm just
the,
curious as to why we went, why that's even in there.
was that in the variance or was that in the resolution from planning?
Resolution,
yeah.
Yeah, and which one? I'm sorry,
number 21.
Commissioner Teal.
I didn't see that. Good catch.
21 in findings.
No, in the,
Whereas.
Madam Chair, in the actual resolution we approved,
Or the skip.
approval of the variance.
Oh, approval of the variance. Okay.
Yeah, he's correct. It does have,
Cody Canal?
That
Cody Canal.
evidently is a mistake. Okay, so you're saying in the findings, 21 of the variance.
Well, page 3. of the
Yep,
variance.
I get that. That obviously is a mistake on our part. Yeah, and that may be true. We may have contacted Cody Canal and they might have said, we have no problem. But yeah, that if evidently we contacted them, that would have been a mistake. Okay.
so Madam Chair, and I mean, I'm perfectly fine with moving forward with approving the extension for both. But, and it could be because they are a district versus a company, but Northport Ditch was taken to court and they cannot require how water is applied. And again, I don't know if it's different because they're a company rather than a district, because
Probably a legal question.
yeah, it's illegal. I mean, I highly recommended that, or we not as a ditch company oversee how water is applied. But that's a question that engineers can go research with their attorneys.
They're doing it a lot.
They are, and it's ridiculous because to me that puts the district or the company, expose them to liability if you approve how water is applied and you flood your neighbor.
Right.
So, but getting off subject. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the 1-year extension for the variance.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 1-year variance or 1-year extension on the variance. Any further discussion on that motion?
Just a housekeeping, Madam Chair. Are we replacing these resolutions from last year, or have they become null and void, or how does that work with the resolutions that we already passed with an expiration date on it? Will the resolution that we signed today replace the 2 that we had if you're doing one resolution?
Madam Chair.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
doesn't
Yeah.
actually replace the document in the legal documents. It will, so when he types up this resolution, it will look back to the other resolution. And so whatever's guided in that resolution, this is only changing the expiration date. And it states right in this new resolution. They still both remain recorded documents.
Yeah.
Once a document is recorded, it cannot be unrecorded.
Okay.
So, this, they follow in sequence. So if
It will be
somebody's doing a
stapled
search,
to it.
well, if somebody's doing a search,
Follow it
they
on.
know,
They'll find it.
They know they have to keep going back and back and back until they find the beginning document.
Okay. So I have a motion on the floor to extend the variance for the 1-year period. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We have a motion on the extension on the subdivision, the sketch plan.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the sketch plan for a 6-month period. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commissioners.
See you next.
Resolution 2023-56.
All right, good. Thank you, Colleen.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thanks. Morning, Sheriff. You're up. Next thing on our agenda is Carol Stewart, Clark County Sheriff, consider designated county impound yard for authorized storage of abandoned vehicles.
Yes. We were dealing with some abandoned vehicle towing issues with a contract we had. That company ended up losing their tow abilities for a while through YDOT. So we had to look at other avenues. And in doing that, we found out that according to Wyoming statutes, the commissioners have to designate areas where these vehicles can be towed to. One of them, which was obvious, was the county yard, but it still has to be designated by the commissioners as a legitimate tow area. I checked with some other tow companies around that are willing to work on this issue with us. Cody Paint and Body was willing to do the tows, but they have no place to store them, so we weren't worried about that one. Eagle Recovery, talking to one of their representatives this morning, is still willing to use their yard as a storage facility, and that's 534 Blackburn Avenue in Cody here. If you need the county yard, I believe is going to be 2814 Highway 120. The only other that I was able to determine so far is Zach's Towing out of Powell. They actually have 3 impound yards, and they're willing to participate. Their first would be 91 Road 2 BC. The second would be 2130 Bighorn Avenue, and the third would be 1221 20th Street here in Cody. But that was my issue, is I just need to get some impound yards designated.
What was the third address? I'm sorry.
The third address was 1221 20th Street in Cody. You bet.
Commissioner?
Sheriff, we can have multiple. We don't
Yes.
have to designate a specific.
No, in speaking with the county attorney, that we can designate as many as we'd like. They just have to be authorized to comply with state statute.
So you've listed off 5 that you're willing to use or
Yes.
wanting to use.
The
Okay.
main one, I believe, would be the county impound yard.
Sure. That's the 2814.
Yes,
120.
Highway 120.
Okay.
It's behind the county road and bridge shop.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we designate the impound yards as listed. Sheriff Stewart.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve the impound yards with the 5 addresses indicated by Sheriff Stewart. Any discussion on the motion? Yes.
Does it put any liability on the private ones?
Liability.
If they're used as a storage yard for the county, is there any liability on us versus them, or do they take liability as being designated, and is there some type of paperwork that they need to sign? You know, I'm just questioning
Sure.
using a private land, and we're designated your land.
Yeah.
Well, who's responsible for those vehicles once they're impounded in there, us or them?
Yeah, and I'd have to check with the county attorney on it, but like say for instance, Zach's Towing, if they towed the vehicle to their yard as an impounded vehicle, I'd have to check on that. I don't know. I wouldn't imagine they would incur their liability through their insurance, I would believe.
So Sheriff, are we going to encourage that they tow to the county yard? And how would that work?
Well, we've had that in the last couple months where we've had to tow 2 vehicles to the county yard and they just, the statute sets up where they're paid $6 a mile per tow or $100, whichever's greater. So that's what we've had to do in the last couple because Cody Paint and Body had no place to store. So they were towed to the county yard. That'd be my preference, be stored and secured out there. But I could sure check on the deal with liability through the county attorney.
And that payment for the mileage or the $100 goes to them whether they're taking it to our impound lot or their own lot designated as an
Correct.
impound lot.
By statute, yes.
Yes.
Are we still under contract?
For the previous one, it's still, yes, the contract is still there, but they have no ability to tow. They were shut down by the YDOT through
Is that
inspection.
something we're gonna do is try to get another contract with somebody else or?
I'll check with the tow company. He's out of state right now for 2 weeks. And I'm gonna find out what his intentions are, if he's gonna get up to compliance with YDOT. If not, we're gonna have to look at another contract with someone else. And that was advertised, I believe, at the beginning of the year. when I signed that one.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I'm thinking out loud maybe, but I wondered about amending the motion pending the private designated ones pending approval of county attorney and liability issues to the county.
Madam Chair, I believe it's already allowed. It's obvious it's allowed for us to designate, allow them to impound to those spots. So I think what I would encourage that we request that they go to the county lot.
Any further discussion on the motion to approve those 5 designated addresses? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. That's the last thing on our official agenda today. We have a couple other things. We're headed down to get our own IDs for the HVAC system at law enforcement. And we have a 2 o'clock that commissioners may or may not attend for questions on the RFP for the rules and regs. And we have the Ralston meeting at 6 o'clock tonight at the Powell Fairgrounds. Just a reminder of what all's happening the rest of the day.
So, Madam Chair, I just do have a question about the way it is written on the Ralston meeting that's advertised as a special meeting. Is that a special meeting? Is it?
I'd have to look at the ad. I thought she did it under planning and zoning.
So, yeah, so that was our question also, because if it is a special meeting, we'll have to be there, but planning and zoning said it's a zoning issue. It's not incorporating Ralston or anything.
And that was just my
No official action.
question, is
Right.
because it was put in our agenda as a special meeting that.
That's the way Joy worded it, but I do not know that it was, I didn't do the advertising as far as from the commissioners.
Joy's office did that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and there is no action. It's informational tonight. Move forward, so. I'd like to have everybody there if we can, just so you hear the discussions, because it's certainly something that's gonna keep moving forward.
The only thing I have is maybe a medical issue. I've got to pick somebody up, but that would be the only reason.
Okay, all right, let's see what you
So I
can do.
plan on being there.
I don't get it right.
Okay. With that, because there is no action on the other things this afternoon.
Move to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So let's go down to law enforcement. Charlo's waiting to